Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are watching around the world. My name is Kartik, and welcome to the Swami Army World T20 Final World Cup preview, World Cup final preview between India and Sri Lanka. Team India has once again made it to a World Tournament final, and we are all very much eager looking forward to tonight's big match against our arch rival Sri Lanka in the T20 World Cup over there in Bangladesh. Joining me today for this hangout, we've got some very special guests from all around the world, some even live in Bangladesh right now. So without further ado, I'll get them introduced. First and foremost, Angadh from the Swami Army. Angadh, welcome to you.
Thanks, Kartik. Always a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, mate. Always a pleasure to have you on. And our first special guest is former ABC broadcaster Glenn Mitchell. Glenn, welcome to you.
Welcome, Kartik. I'm looking forward in a moment to finding out what the weather conditions are like across there tonight.
Absolutely. We'll definitely have those details for you live from Bangladesh. And speaking of, we've got two people from Bangladesh. The first person is our freelance reporter and our Swami Army representative over there in Bangladesh, Gaurav Joshi. Gaurav, welcome to you.
Thanks for having me on, as usual.
Thanks for your time. And also, our very special guest for today is in Bangladesh right now. It's ESPNCricinfo's Abhishek Purohit. Abhishek, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for joining today.
Pleasure, Kartik. My pleasure. Yeah, Kartik. Hi. Am I audible?
I didn't very much mute there.
Am I audible?
Yep, that's better. That's better. We can hear you now.
Great.
You might have to speak up a little bit there, but anyway, we'll get straight into it, guys. As we know, India and Sri Lanka are both in the final tonight. They meet again in another World Tournament final. So it's starting to become a bit more of a rivalry now in the last few years, probably more so, I'd say, than in the India-Pakistan game even. But definitely tonight's going to be a big game. To kick it off, Angadh, what's your thoughts on Team India's performance so far, the road to the World Cup final? They've pretty much played and won without too many problems. How did you see it so far?
Yeah, look, Dhoni was lucky in winning most of his tosses and being able to execute his plan of bowling first and chasing. Had India lost the first few tosses and made to bat first, who knows whether they'd be in the final at this stage. The only time they were actually tested was in the semi-final, where they were chasing, in excess of 170 against South Africa. A few of the bowlers seemed like they were a bit short on confidence in a big game, such as Amit Mishra and Mohit Sharma. So, look, other than that, it was a pretty, there wasn't many hurdles leading up to the final, and everything's falling in place for them, especially if the toss goes in their favour.
Absolutely, it's definitely going to be an interesting toss there. Gaurav, to you, from the Sri Lankan side of things, how have you seen their performance and their road to the World Cup final so far?
Well, Sri Lanka are almost T20 specialists. They've played the most, second most amount of T20s in international cricket, so they're quite professionals. They've got Joe Warden and Sangakkara Force in their swan song tonight, so their performance has been quite... they lost to England when Alex Hales hit that brilliant 195, but after that, it was remarkable to bowl out New Zealand for such a paltry total of 60-odd. And Rangana Herat made a difference, and one of the key factors for that win has been the dew factor. As soon as we had no dew in Chittagong, they sort of got themselves into the game, and over here in Dhaka there hasn't been much dew at all. So they're going into this tournament on a high, of course, but it's that emotional sort of factor. Can they overcome that? And of course, playing against India, which is sort of become a last hurdle for them that they can't overcome, and it's just not India, but also playing in the final. So it's going to be interesting. Their performance is as good as probably they've lost that game, but we've probably got the two form sides playing in the World Cup final.
Absolutely spot on. And Abhishek, to you, obviously you've seen most of the games happening throughout the tournament from the media box there, looking very comfortable, I might say. But how do you see tonight's game panning out? And most importantly, what can we expect with the weather conditions and the pitch conditions as well?
Well, as far as the weather goes, it's quite humid out here today, and there is a chance of rain during the afternoon, but it could impact the women's game. But the forecast for the night game is clear. But you never know. No rain was forecast for the first semi-final, and there was a hailstorm, and rain was forecast for the second semi-final, and we got an entire game in. So you can never really say. It, the saying goes that when the forecast is for rain in Calcutta, you expect rain in Dhaka. So that's the way it is.
Yeah, I think that weather sounds a bit like Melbourne weather. You can never expect. You never know what's going to happen within half an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know. So for the final tonight, you're expecting it to be pretty clear skies and no interruptions. So we should get a full 20 overs from each side.
Yeah, but that is what the forecast says. But until it gets done, we can never be sure.
Okay, and any word on the pitch there? How it's going to play out?
Sorry, can you come again?
I said any word on the pitch?
Well, the thing is that the toss is spoken about a lot, but I don't think the toss has mattered so much here in Dhaka because there really hasn't been as much dew compared to Chittagong. Chittagong was, as Stuart Broad said, you were left with a bar of soap instead of a ball. So the conditions have been much better here as far as the dew goes. So I don't think the toss is that crucial. And in fact, India lost the toss in the semi-final, and it was as good as an ODI chase, typical subcontinent ODI chase from them. So I don't think the toss will matter that much, which is what Dhoni said as well in yesterday's press conference.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just so you reckon that whoever's going to bat first or second doesn't matter. It's going to be a run feast regardless.
Well, Virat Kohli will prefer chasing, but yeah, I don't think toss will make much difference.
Okay. We'll definitely have to wait and see how it goes tonight. Now, Glenn, who do you think we've seen some remarkable performances by Ranganahera for Sri Lanka, Virat Kohli obviously for India with the bat. Is it going to be the same sort of people standing up, or do you see somebody else, or who do you think will be the standout players for both teams tonight?
Well, I guess the one sleeping giant so far has been Kumar Sangakkara. I mean, quite amazing to think he's only made 19 runs in 4 innings, and he's certainly someone you can't discount. I mean, he's a champion player, and Sri Lanka will be hoping that he can come good. Mahela Jayawardene, the other major star that is going to bow out for Sri Lanka after this tournament, has been in reasonably good form, but if Sangakkara can lift his game, that's going to be crucial. I mean, on Indian side, you can't go past Virat Kohli. Both he and Sharma have got them off early on to very good starts, and Kohli is just a class act. There's no doubt about that. The only worry would be is that can India keep going back to the same well over and over? You know, Kohli can't be expected to carry the batting every single time, and that may be the issue. I mean, he's made 3 half centuries. Is the bubble going to burst in this match? If it doesn't, you'd have to think India are a fairly prohibitive favourite to actually win this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be interesting to see how it pans out there, whether it will be Kohli or whether it will be somebody else. Gaurav, who do you think? I know we've mentioned that Glenn believes that it's going to be Virat Kohli, or it should be Virat Kohli, or if hopefully India can find somebody else. Who do you think will be the standout players for India and Sri Lanka tonight?
Well, one of the players that it hasn't been spoken much about in this tournament for Sri Lanka is Kushal Perera. I mean, he hasn't had big scores in the last 3 or 4 games, but he's got Sri Lanka off to that, 30 or 40 off the first 3 overs, and Virat Kohli made that clear, and also India's run chase the other night, how important it was for Rohit Sharma to come out and score 25 or 12 balls. So when he actually came out to bat, it was a matter of India going at 10 and over. He took his time. He was able to rotate the strike, which is why he's elevated his game to another level. So, look, Kushal Perera, I think for Sri Lanka is very important. And Dilshan, who's struggled a little bit in this tournament, I think he becomes just the way it really defines how Sri Lanka go at the start. For India, I think I call them linkmen. I mean, between Kohli and Dhoni sit Raina and Yuvraj. They're the linkmen. If the other two, if Kohli and Dhoni fail, then these two have to score a little bit, puts extra burden or pressure on them. So, but if those two play as per what, if Kohli stands out, then these two, their job's easy. They come out, all their role is to simply hit about 30 or 25 runs in about 15 balls. So it's going to be important, like Glenn said, if there is a failure for Kohli or Dhoni, to see what these two link men, as I put them, can do for India.
Okay, let's look out for those link men, as you say, and see how they perform. Abhishek, from a Sri Lankan perspective, or actually from like both teams' perspective for tonight, who do you think will be the standout player, and who do you expect to perform on the big stage and make a difference in tonight's game?
Well, we keep speaking about the law of averages, but I've been waiting for the last 3 or 4 years, and the law of averages has not caught up with Virat Kohli. And the bigger the occasion, the better he seems to perform. I was just looking at some stats, and he's scored close to 4,000 ODI runs in the past 3 years. The next best for India has been Rohit Sharma with about 2,200 ODI runs. So that is the kind of gulf he's managed to create, even in a team with such quality players such as Dhoni and Yuvraj. So, well, we can obviously expect Kohli to perform again. And actually, one person who has slipped under the radar is Suresh Raina. This is his format. We can talk about his short ball problem and all that, but this is his format. He needs 2 overs to make that difference. He needed actually 1 over to make all the difference against South Africa. So this is what he's been doing all over the seasons for Chennai Super Kings, and he needs 1 or 2 overs to turn a game. So he should be one to watch out for. And there are always the big match players in Dhoni and Yuvraj. You can never count them out. Sri Lanka, from the Sri Lankan perspective, I've been really impressed with how Lahiru Thirumanne and Angelo Matthews have gone about hitting in this tournament. I mean, Matthews is someone who can take some time to get going, but he's been terrific with his hitting over extra cover and over middle wicket. And Thirumanne has been quite a surprise actually. He's been shunted up and down the order, particularly in the ODI side, but he's played fantastic shots, and obviously you can never count the 2 gentlemen who have played 1,000 ODIs between them. This is their last 2020 international, and obviously they would want to go out on a high.
Absolutely, it's definitely going to be a big match for Sangakkara and Jayawardene. Now, Angad, the last all 3 of Gaurav, Glenn, and Abhishek have all mentioned about the batting for both teams, but I mean, I know you've got a bit of a different spin on this. I'm assuming that you'll have a bit of a different take on this. And think about the bowlers for a minute, being a vivid leg spinner yourself. How do you think the bowlers will go tonight for both sides?
Well, it comes down to how they handle the pressure. I mean, I talked about Mishra and Mohit Sharma earlier, and there were 2 of India's players who haven't played in big games. I mean, they weren't a part of the World Cup winning side, and they weren't a part of the Champions Trophy winning side, and that lack of big match experience showed during the semi-final against South Africa. So I think for India that would be the key, whether Dhoni can get his leg spinner, who's been one of the reasons they played so well in the group stage, whether he can get in his ear and calm him down a little bit. Apart from that, I mean, we've seen how Ashwin and Jadeja have bowled in big match situations. So I think India's bowlers should be all right in the big match scenario. But it comes down to Sri Lanka. I mean, Herat's been bowling brilliantly. If he can keep that up in the final, and we've seen Malinga against India in recent times where he's been a bit wayward, especially against Kohli. I mean, we saw it in the Asia Cup in 2012 and also in the Commonwealth Bank Series in Hobart, where Kohli just took him apart. So it'll be interesting to see whether he can get his radar right to quieten down Kohli and Raina and Rohit Sharma. But I think look, the spinners on both sides will have their say, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes tonight.
Most definitely. All right, guys, we're just about running out of time today, but before we finish, I'll get a quick tip from all 4 of you, and also a tip for the amount of the match performance as well. So, Glenn, who do you expect to win tonight? India, Sri Lanka, and who's going to be your man of the match?
Well, it's hard to go past India. I mean, they've had four out of 4 victories. I mean, Sri Lanka had that perhaps aberration, as it turned out, against a pretty woeful England throughout the tournament. So I think India are going to get up. And for mine, I actually think Sharma. I'm going to go. I'm just not sure whether Kohli can just keep rattling these runs out. But I've been very impressed with Sharma, and I'm going to go for Rohit Sharma and the double India to also take out the World T20.
I like the way you think, Glenn. Gaurav, yourself, who do you expect to take it out tonight? India, Sri Lanka, or India or Sri Lanka, and who's your man of the match?
Well, India are the overwhelming favourites, so I would think India would go through as winners and win this trophy for the second time. I think in terms of batting, yes, there's been a lot spoken about Kohli's, but I'm going someone different. I think someone like Ajinkya Rahane, if he plays, I think he can score a few runs today. Maybe notches up, hold up at one end and score 60 or 65. That could be crucial while the others bat around him. So I'm going for someone like him, but I can't see. I mean, India losing this match. I think Sri Lanka will need to do something extraordinary. So, and that will have to come from someone like a Herath or even a Malinga. So I'm still tipping India to win.
Okay, that's 2 from 2. I like the sound of this, guys. Angadh, yourself, India or Sri Lanka, you're man of the match. And also, what about a winning total? What will be a winning total?
Well, if Sri Lanka are to win, I would pick Sangakkara to be their man of the match. I think if they are to win, he's going to have to fire with the bat. But yeah, look, I think India will win it. They've got too much momentum behind them, and I'm actually going to pick a bowler for my man of the match, and I think that'd be Ravi Ashwin. As for a total, I think it'd be similar to the semi-final against South Africa. I'm expecting whoever bats first to post around that 170 mark.
Okay, and Abhishek, to you, probably the most knowledgeable of all of us, especially given you're right there at the ground and I've seen most of the games more than us, and you'll see how everything's panned out. India or Sri Lanka for you, your man of the match, and what do you think will be the total case or set to win the game?
Sorry, could you repeat that last part again?
I said what do you think the total would have to be down or set to win the game?
Well, this has actually become a self-fulfilling prophecy now, and one side talks about needing professional help to talk about their peers ahead of big finals, and one side goes on playing football and more football. So it's just the way India go in big finals nowadays. So they just pretend that it is not a final and then play like it is a final. They just step up their game. So I'm going with India again on the basis of recent history, and I'm plumping for Virat Kohli once more. Winning total, I'm really not going to hazard a guess, given the way India chased down close to 175 in a high-pressure semi-final. I mean, you are supposed to crumble under the weight of so many runs in a semi-final, but it was just like a one-day chase for India. So I'm really not going to hazard a guess on the winning total.
Okay, but what do you think? Okay, let me ask you this: what target would you think would make India sweat a little bit and put a lot of pressure on?
What target would be difficult to get?
Yeah. Especially if they lost.
Let's go a bit ahead further than what India achieved against South Africa. We'll go for 180.
Okay. So you think 180 is going to be a tough chase for India?
Yes, definitely.
That'll make it difficult for them. All right. Well, for me, as you all know, you probably already I've tipped India to win at the start of the tournament, and I'm not going to change my theory on that. I'm expecting India to win, and like Angadh, I actually think it's going to be Ravi Ashwin who will be the man of the match tonight. Expecting him to take a lot of wickets and set up the game, whether they chase first or whether they're chasing or whether they're setting the target. So I think Ravi Ashwin will have a standout match and lead. Until that's all we have time for, guys. Thank you to all of you for joining today. I know we've had some technical difficulties getting you all on, but I'm glad we all got you on, especially with your busy schedules. So really appreciate your time. Glenn, as always, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot, Kartik.
Gaurav, I hope you're enjoying your stay over there and enjoy the final tonight. Thanks for joining.
Thanks. And just before I go, I just want to hope that the Southern Stars can make a hat-trick. So I'm off to work on that game. Doing some work. So let's hope the Southern Stars make it 3 in a row.
Absolutely, that would be a great achievement for the Southern Stars, the Australian women's cricket team. Angadh, as always, thank you very much for joining today, and we'll chat to you again soon.
Always a pleasure, Kartik.
And finally, Abhishek, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a very busy guy, especially running the Cricinfo pages there and everything like that in the box. We really appreciate your time and you coming on today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kartik. Thanks for having me. As far as the busy part goes, I'm going to run for lunch now. That will keep me busy for
I think we all need to have a bit of a feed after that. Thank you very much to all of you guys for joining. Thanks everyone for watching. Remember, please check out the website for more details on the World T20 and of course India's tours coming up. We've got a big year ahead against England, the Australian summer, and also the ICC Cricket World Cup 50-over format later on. February. Yes, so please check out the website swamiarmy.com. Also check out the Facebook page, and also until next time, we'll speak to you again soon and go to
चावी घेऊन गेलात तरी चालेल.
Goodbye.